mentioned in your MBA journey, you explored various subjects. So, how did you pick the project management is the one you should be pursuing in the future and not the other fields?
I'll bust a myth. People say that you need to be tech oriented, you need to have technical skills to become a product manager. That's incorrect. That's only the situation in India. The moment you say that technology is not my forte, I'm not going to step in there, I'm not going to empathize with them, that's a recipe for disaster. You are not going to prevail in that environment for sure. If you're attending a product conference and you don't connect with more than 10 people, that's a failure.
Some people were asking about your session, K. When is your session happening? So I'm assuming they have a lot to ask.
So you mentioned early on that when you were an engineer, one problem that you noticed that was that a lot of the engineers or the executioners were not able to empathize with the customers, and they were not told how they were they should be caring about the problem. Now that you are a product manager, how do you solve that for your engineers or your teams?
Sure. And since I've been on the other side, I make sure that I don't commit the same mistake. So what I actually try to do is during the product discovery process itself, let's say I know that I'm trying to solve for a pain point. This is my initial proposal. I make sure that this is vetted by the engineering team. We actually get into certain co-creation sessions, try to get some validation. It's just not in terms of execution. Execution is one aspect, whether that's doable within our constraints or not. But it's also about them actually getting to be a part of the building process. So that's one aspect that I have changed. Second thing is they are also looking at user data on day-to-day basis. My pain point earlier was I was not even informed about what's happening on the business side. And it feels really, really bad that I have given too much into this and I still don't know what's the takeaway from this. Now, one thing that we have actually tried to change is that we let people know about the kind of impact that their work is actually creating. Everyone has a say. I'm not saying in all aspects, but that's not even practical. But what the bare minimum that we can actually do is get them in the product building process, talk about what is the impact that their work is doing. Sometimes engineers come with really, really good ideas. Like we are looking at certain ideas as well. We do a lot of hackathons. The ideas actually originate from engineers. So literally everyone, not just engineering, any employee can actually contribute. It's just about empathizing with the customer. So that's an approach that we have actually tried to change. And I feel that I'm trying to do justice to that. But again, there is a lot of room that I can actually cover, and I can also do a much better job there. So I'll be honest with regards to that. I've started taken a step in that direction, but I feel there's a lot of gap that needs to be covered because we get so obsessed with execution and building things that we forget this picture. We are only becoming transactional day by day. So I'm trying to avoid that.
As you worked on BYJU'S, like we may see that all startups successful. So I, in my childhood and in my college days, I saw the BYJU'S as a very good business opportunity. Even I wanted to be in my first job as a BYJU'S. Like now BYJU'S went bankrupt. It was like very hurtful for me that why it was like we can see that BYJU'S, Coursera, Unacademy, even everything started. BYJU'S was the pillar stone.
Correct.
So it was their first one thing to grab all the attention. As now we are in online classes, it was there forecasted already, and it was a very good opportunity over there. Like as you are in product manager in BYJU'S, like what were the necessary if someone wanted to like brainstorm an idea in like BYJU'S, so what you will do to make the customer happy and even the business opportunity also you will address.
I'll talk about my experience in BYJU'S, how things used to function. So the thing is, BYJU'S had a really great sales team. Like they were able to push their product really well. Whether that was the right way or not, I'll not be able to comment on that. But again, I'll talk about the product building process here. So you start with the user only. And why I chose EdTech was that we are building product for two personas. My customer and the consumer are different. So a child is going to consume my product, but it's his or her parent that is going to pay money for that. So my product needs to appeal to both the personas. Why BYJU'S worked for us was that we were very deep in terms of user research. we used to do a lot of user research with kids, like immersing ourselves with that environment, looking at what kind of feedback that they are giving, not verbally, because they might not be able to give you a candid feedback, but you can actually check the interaction on the application, the way their facial gestures are. So you actually track that. So in my entire product experience, I think that's the place where we have done the deepest rooted research. So when I talk about user centric products, I think it has a very special space in my mind, that we were actually building things ground up. We were co-creating with these guys. And the thing is same, that you need to build product that challenges the existing state of education. Now, if you have to move people online, there is an asynchronous way of learning that's happening. There is no live tutoring that was there at that point of time. So we thought that, can we do a combination of asynchronous and synchronous learning? We went to even this extent. I'll talk about a product that I was working on. So English speaking is a skill that's problematic for a lot of people, because that's their not their native language or not their mother tongue. But it's an important aspect to acquire if you have to survive in this space. So we actually tried to build an interface where a kid can actually talk to a character. Like, technically that was a initial version of what you call a chat GPT right now, but a very visual way of doing that. And we actually wanted to give tangible outcomes. I just don't want to sell a product and just tell that it's fairly fancy. I need to show immediate impact. So when I was talking about a language application, we ensured that people graduate with regards to their SEFR levels. So when you talk about a language, you have different levels. A1 is the beginner and C2 is the most advanced level. So people could see tangible movement around that specific product. So I thought that we were gunning for impact. We were very close to the user, and that's the aspect that I enjoyed the most at BYJU'S. Obviously, there was execution work, but again, this stands out pretty well. Now, why it didn't work out for BYJU'S? There are multiple reasons. Because given the environment, like when COVID happened, literally everything went online. So there was a market push also that pushed students towards that. But eventually, maybe the product market fit didn't happen. It was something that people used maybe for a year or two, but people didn't want to use it beyond the point. Offline came into the picture and it became a supporting product, not the primary mode. So maybe that's why it happened. And majority of the people started operating in same space. Differentiators were less, and there were other aspects also. So I think that's the reason why I think EdTech started degrading, at least in India.
Hi Arnav.
Hi.
I want to ask you, what are the key skills, technical skills required for a product manager? And as you said that this curriculum is not taught in MBA, so how can we get to know more about it?
Sure. I'll address your first question. I'll bust a myth. People say that you need to be tech oriented, you need to have technical skills to become a product manager. That's incorrect. That's only the situation in India. In US, if you look at that specific market, there are people from liberal arts background who are excelling in product management. They have nothing to do with tech. But the only condition is that engineering is a primary stakeholder in the product building process. So what you should be able to do is not understand their stack, but at least you should know how to have a conversation with them, how to relay the requirements. Now, because they have to act on that. Unless you define what needs to be built, you give them the necessary use cases, they are going to translate it into something else, and the product is going to be fairly bad because you were not able to relay your requirements. You were not able to talk your mind to them, right? So first things first, you need an ability to empathize with engineers. You should be crystal clear with regards to the requirements. That's the first thing. Second is, it depends on the kind of products you're working on. So let's say if you're working in maybe a Microsoft and you're working on a Azure product, right? You need to have some basic skills of that stack also, right? Now, whether that's an area that you have an expertise in, it completely depends on that. But again, it's not necessary. You should be able to translate the requirements. But if you are able to understand that stack also, if you understand the constraints that they are operating in, you will have a really good estimation of the effort that they are actually quoting. So what happens is, I need to ship a product in 3 months and I am defining scope. If I don't have visibility over what's possible and what's not, I might end up giving them very unrealistic requirements that's not even shippable in a year. So my pulse of building a product becomes really better if I start getting some understanding of how engineering is actually working. That's one. How do you build that skill set? What I'll say is start with certain pilot projects. Let's say if I'm assuming that you are in the product management role, and now if you have to actually go and excel, you need to start talking to them. You need to start understanding the process, like how do they do engineering design, how exactly architecture decisions are taken. Start taking interest, start asking questions. Don't shy away that people are going to make fun of me. That's the first thing that you can actually do. And if you're not a product manager and you are trying to transition, there are basic courses that you can actually do. Just try to get an understanding of certain basic algorithms, right? Like let's say how a CSC graduate would prepare for an interview, like how search functions, how sorting functions, right? Or let's say basic things like what kind of stacks are popular in the market, right? That's a basic understanding of a database querying language, maybe SQL or Oracle, right? Just try to understand that. So that's going to come really handy for you. So there's plenty of literature out there that's going to help you build a foundation for what's expected out of a PM from a technology lens. Do that. And on the job, anyways, you can speak to the engineers, try to get a really good grip, but you need to start involving yourself. The moment you say that technology is not my forte, I'm not going to step in there, just I'm not going to empathize with them, that's a recipe for disaster. You are not going to prevail in that environment for sure.
Yeah, in product manager, all the product manager now they are looking into portfolios. So how to build a good portfolio for a product manager?
That's a very good question. I get this question plenty of times. See, the constraint is a lot of people are not in product space. They're coming from different domains. Now you need to start playing on your strength. One thing is try to get live projects. Okay, so the first skill that you need to excel as a aspirant for product management is networking. You need to network the hell out of it. Like seriously, you need to talk to every person that's out there who's maybe operating in a dream company of yours or a domain where you want to work. Try to understand what exactly they're looking for in a candidate. So let's say if I'm applying for Google, I'm applying for Flipkart, speaking with a certain product managers is going to give you a flavor of what's expected. Okay, that's one. Now, once you have cracked that this is the expectation, you need to start building your profile around that. That can come via live projects, that can come via certain internships that you can actually crack, and that can come with some kind of work experience even in a startup. Okay, you can also try to transition within your own job. So let's say if you're working in engineering, just go up to the product manager, ask that can I work on a sample user story or not, and then just try to craft that experience into your profile as well. Portfolio is very important because that gives me a validation that if you don't have a prior experience, what's your thinking process, and if you have done a really good job, they'll catch my attention and I'll give you a shot at least in an interview. So that's very important. Given that you have done these things, right? Sometimes people say that now everyone has a portfolio. You copy paste things like I can't even prove my worthiness that this is my project or not. Then one thing that can happen is this is a tried and tested method. If you're transitioning into product space, do a really good detailed analysis of a specific company and industry. So let's take startups. So if a startup is operating in a food delivery space, think about what are the pain points that they're actually facing. Try to do a detailed critique of their application, try to give them recommendations, and do send cold emails to the founders. They respond because there is some meat for them, right, in the work that you've actually done, and they'll definitely give you a shot. There are instances where on Twitter or X now, people have recommended certain features to Zomato when they got a job opportunity. So you need to do justice to the work that you are actually doing and take a stab at it. You can pitch to 100 founders. One of them is going to return your call or maybe respond to your email. But you need to make sure that your work is up to the mark. That's another way that you can actually relay in this space.
And like how to network better?
So first things first, network within your own organization. So Amazon has really good product managers. Through your connections, maybe let's say in your team, there would be people who will be interacting with the product managers. Try to get a conversation space with them. Try to understand what kind of roles they are actually hiring for. What are the expectations? So your networking starts within your personal group first, within your company, within your alum network. There might be people from your college where you actually graduated who might be operating in the space, friend of friends, right? That's how you actually look into this. Second is you can start attending certain conferences. Let's say there are a lot of product conferences that happen where a lot of good speakers come, right? That's a really good place to make connections. I'll say if you're attending a product conference and you don't connect with more than 10 people, that's a failure. Seriously, you should have an agenda on your mind. I'm saying get into the books of these people, start following them, start following certain influencers also, I'll suggest, because that's also a source of knowledge, like where exactly the market is actually trending with regards to product manager. So that's how you can function. Start with your uh, I'll say vicinity, right? Like people who are around you, and closely if you monitor that, it'll start expanding, let's say in 6 months or something. But again, you need to come out of your shell, because even as a product manager, you cannot be someone who's working in a silo, because you have to cut across different verticals. So again, you're being trained for the job. So that's the first prerequisite that you'll have.
My question is, you mentioned in your MBA journey, you explored various subjects,
Yes.
including finance,
Yeah.
including consulting, maybe. So, how did you pick the project management is the one you should be pursuing in the future and not the other fields? Like,
Sure.
how was your process of elimination?
So I had a brief idea in my mind that I wanted to do product management. But when I came into a B school, I realized that not a lot of people are aware of the space itself, right? The curriculum is still focusing on the traditional verticals. Okay. Then what I thought that let me experiment with certain areas that, let's say, a product manager would be interested in. First things first, consumer behavior, marketing, right? Let's say how exactly I study the customer psyche. So that becomes very important. So obviously I chose those subjects. Second thing, what the market is moving towards is complete ownership. Product managers are just not shipping products, they're even owning up the P&L as well. They have to understand what kind of impact, business impact, their feature is actually bringing. So they have to understand the complete P&L, income statement, everything. And within P&L also, what's my top line, what's my gross margin, contribution margin, EBITDA, everything. They'll like their work is going to cut across that. So I was personally very interested in that specific space. Like I even took up things like valuation. I was very interested how exactly the value of the company is going up based on the kind of products they're actually shipping. So you need to be equipped with the basic tenets. HR becomes really important because you need to understand organizational behavior, organization structure. You need an ability to read people. What exactly that you want from them can only be accomplished if you are able to address their expectation from you, right? So that's also very important. When you become a manager, let's say in product management, you have to mentor a lot of people. And there are some people who are not interested in doing day-to-day work, right? They're interested in innovation. So HR helps you in terms of getting a flavor of how do I separate this vertical out, and I give them something that makes them stay in my organization. Like I need to have an innovation wing also under my team. So that's how it functions. Now coming back to the B school, so I took all these courses. I started developing some kind of inclination towards financial courses. Unfortunately, there were not a lot of investment banking companies coming in newer IIMs, so that option was completely out of the picture. But again, I did try. I'm not saying I didn't try that. But what was still happening is product management was still pestering my mind, because that was my calling, right? And I tried to just pursue opportunities outside. And what I also did was I did tremendous amount of networking. I was in constant touch with a lot of product managers outside, and I was just trying to pick up the basic fundamentals: accounting, marketing, organizational behavior. I was looking at market research, right? So all these subjects did help me refine my profile and build a view towards addressing these things. Because as a product manager, you need to be a jack of all trades for sure. I'll not say master of none. It has to be master of all, literally. But again, you need to have that width, and B school gives you that width.
I have one last question. Since they pretty much covered, do you follow technology very closely?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So, what some current trends excite you as a PM?
I get this very basic question. Now, everyone is slightly paranoid about AI and what exactly is going to happen to their jobs, right? Now, I have addressed this question multiple times. So, what's exciting for me is how do I solve my current use cases with a boost from AI tools? Okay. That's something that I'm definitely looking into, not just for shipping products, but in terms of improving my own productivity also in general. So I'll start with a couple of things that I have personally used with regards to the AI trends, right, that are out there. So first things first, how do I efficiently manage my product backlog? So I'll have plenty of ideas, right, that I have. I'll have some brief written around that. what I can actually do via, let's say, the use of technology is that I can actually look for specific market insights. It enables me to do a really good job at doing a market research, or let's say trying to structure what exactly I should be focusing on. So prioritization pay, it helps me a lot. Like I use plenty of tools out there that actually help me do that. Like a lot of your project management tools also now have a lot of AI flavors built in. Let's say, how do I manage your schedule? How do I manage what exactly you're going to work on? That's one. Second thing is that I have worked on the recommendation space also. When I was at ShareChat, the user base was humongous. We were actually getting a daily active user count in excess of 40 million on daily basis, right? Like that was the users base that we were operating on. And just to understand that user, right, like different users, it was practically impossible if I had just relied on qualitative research or let's say just my own numbers. So what happened was that we started a lot of experimentation. Experimentation has evolved a lot. Like I can zero down on one specific cohort, give them a treatment that's going to give me business benefits. So that's how it helps me. Third thing, now let's say if I want to actually do a very condensed summary of something that I want to push for. Like I'll give an example. I use Perplexity Chat GPT, right? So what it does is that like I'll have tons of data, user comments, app reviews, right? It helps me classify what are the areas that I want to focus on. How good a job am I doing actually against these specific verticals? So it has made my job really, really easy that I need not go through, let's say, a script that analyzes each and everything. I can actually just put out the content out there, not in an open source. Obviously, there are restrictions within the company. You can't do that. But again, every company will have their own set of models that allow you to do that. And the last thing is that products like, let's say, social media platforms, right? We are moving towards hyper personalization. I would want to give the user something that he or she has expressed intent in the past. I'll not do a spray and pray. Like I'm giving something to all the users and they are just going to respond and I'll just going to wait. It's not like that. Based on the user history, I'll be able to curate the set of recommendations. I'll be able to rank it also. Like let's say, what is the first thing that the user actually sees? So in my past experience, when I was working in ShareChat, I was looking after the video commerce thing, right? The video, live video vertical. Now there is a feed. You have images, videos, you have other types of content. I need an ability to promote my category. Now that'll happen based on certain signals. So where exactly it should surface in the feed, those things come into the picture also when I actually do applications of AI. So I feel that if I don't pick up on the AI skills, don't pick up on the latest technologies, I'm going to become redundant. And that is something that will not let me sleep at night. I need to constantly learn. And I think that's a good habit that I have developed by talking to a lot of industry leaders. They're saying that you can't be complacent about what you know. What you're doing right now might not exist after 6 months. So if you have to stay in the game, you have to be on top of each and everything. So be curious, develop some common sense, and make sure you are on top of things. Like what I personally do is I read TechCrunch every day, right? It talks about, let's say, a lot of things that are happening in the technology space. And I go and experiment with those tools. So let's say if Google has launched Gemini, I might try out that. Like I'll see how exactly it functions. Can it address any of my use cases based on the work that I'm doing? So it's as simple as that. Just be curious. That's the mantra.
Lovely. Arnav, thank you for your consistent energy, and I'm sure audience loved your session. Tons of great insights. Personally, I also got to understand a lot. Again, I did not have to ask them to give a huge round of applause for you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.